Family laughed at my business idea, so I refused to hire them when it made millions. I never thought I'd be writing this post, but here I am, CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, and not a single member of my toxic family works here. Not one. And believe me, they've tried. Let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in what I can only describe as an emotional war zone. My family wasn't just unsupportive, they were actively cruel to each other and especially to me. My dad, a failed businessman himself, had a habit of belittling everyone around him to make himself feel better. I still remember when I brought home my first A+ in math. Instead of praise, I got, "What, you think you're some kind of genius now? Don't get a big head, boy. You're still nothing special." My mom wasn't much better. She was always comparing me to my perfect older sister, Emma. "Why can't you be more like your sister? She's so pretty and popular. Maybe if you tried harder, you'd have friends too." It didn't matter that Emma was manipulative and mean behind closed doors. To my parents, she was the golden child who could do no wrong. Emma, of course, reveled in this. She'd go out of her way to make me look bad. Like the time she convinced me to help her with a school project, then told our parents I had forced her to do my work for me. I was grounded for a month, and no amount of explaining could change their minds. My younger brother, Jake, learned early on to keep his head down and mouth shut. He'd watch silently as I got berated or mocked, never standing up for me but never joining in either. I couldn't really blame him. Self-preservation was key in our household. Family gatherings were the worst. My Uncle Bob, a heavy drinker, would get louder and meaner with each beer. He'd pick on everyone but especially me. "Still haven't got yourself a girlfriend, eh? What's wrong? Too ugly? Too stupid? Or just too much of a mama's boy?" The rest of the family would laugh as if crushing a kid's self-esteem was the height of comedy. Aunt Sarah wasn't much better. She was the family gossip, always ready with a backhanded compliment or a thinly veiled insult. "Oh, sweetie," she'd say, patting my cheek condescendingly, "don't worry about not being as smart as your sister. I'm sure you'll find something you're good at eventually." My cousins took their cues from the adults, forming a pack of bullies that made every family event a nightmare. They'd steal my things, push me around, and then play innocent when I tried to stand up for myself. "Can't you take a joke?" they'd say while the adults nodded in agreement. This was the toxic stew I grew up in. Every day was a battle to maintain any sense of self-worth. I learned to keep my dreams and aspirations to myself, knowing they'd only be used as ammunition against me. So when I graduated college with a degree in computer science, I was determined to get as far away from my family as possible. I had an idea for an app, one that I truly believed could revolutionize the way people shop for groceries. It wasn't just another delivery app. This would use AI to predict what you needed before you even knew you needed it, optimize your shopping list for nutrition and budget, and even suggest recipes based on what you buy. I was excited. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had something that was truly mine, something that could change everything. Then came the annual family reunion. I hadn't wanted to go, but my mom had guilted me into it as usual. "We're family," she'd said. "Family sticks together no matter what." If only she knew how ironic those words would soon become. I don't know what possessed me to share my idea. Maybe it was a desperate, last-ditch effort to gain their approval. Maybe I thought that just this once they'd see my potential and be proud of me. I waited until after dinner, when everyone was relaxed and in a relatively good mood. I stood up, my heart pounding, and started explaining my idea. The silence that followed was deafening. For a split second, I felt a glimmer of hope. Then my dad's booming laugh shattered it. "An app that knows what you need before you do? Son, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. People know what they want to eat. They don't need a computer to tell them. Did you waste your entire college education coming up with this crap?" His words hit me like a physical blow. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but my mom cut in, her voice dripping with disappointment. "Honey, is this why we spent all that money on your degree? To come up with harebrained schemes? I thought we raised you better than this. Maybe you should focus on getting a real job instead of chasing fantasies." I felt my face burning with shame. But it was Emma who delivered the killing blow. "Oh, come on, little brother," she said, her voice laced with venom. "You really think you're going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg? You, the kid who couldn't even remember to tie his own shoelaces until he was 12? Get real. You couldn't run a lemonade stand, let alone a tech company." The room erupted in laughter. Uncle Bob, already 3 sheets to the wind, chimed in. "Looks like all that college education was wasted on you, boy. Should have sent you to trade school instead. At least then you might be good for something." Aunt Sarah added, her voice sickly sweet. "Remember when he wanted to be an astronaut? Or a rock star? This is just another one of his silly phases. Don't worry, dear, I'm sure you'll grow out of it and find a nice, normal job soon." My cousins started mimicking me, putting on exaggerated voices. "Oh, look at me, I'm going to revolutionize grocery shopping. Maybe next I'll invent an app that ties your shoes for you." Each word, each laugh felt like a knife twisting in my gut. I stood there, frozen, as years of pent-up insecurities and self-doubt came crashing down on me. The room seemed to spin, and I could feel tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. I looked to Jake, silently pleading for support, but he just averted his gaze, unwilling to stand up to the family's mockery. In that moment, I felt utterly alone. These people, my so-called family, were tearing me apart, stomping on my dreams and laughing about it. The hurt was indescribable. It wasn't just disappointment or disagreement, it was outright cruelty. But it wasn't new. This was just the culmination of years of emotional abuse and neglect. The final confirmation that I would never be good enough for them, that they would never support me or believe in me. I mumbled some excuse and fled to the bathroom, where I broke down in silent sobs. The echoes of their laughter seemed to follow me, ringing in my ears. I stared at myself in the mirror, seeing the pathetic, naive fool they all thought I was. It took every ounce of strength I had to compose myself and return to the gathering. For the rest of the night, I endured subtle jabs and snickering looks. Each one chipped away at my self-esteem, leaving me feeling hollow and worthless. That night changed something fundamental in me. It wasn't just about them not believing in my idea. They had attacked my character, my intelligence, my very worth as a person. The people who were supposed to love and support me unconditionally had instead chosen to humiliate and belittle me, as they had done my entire life. I left that reunion a different person. The naive, optimistic dreamer was gone, replaced by someone harder, colder, and determined to prove them all wrong no matter the cost. The next morning, I woke up with a fire in my belly I'd never felt before. Their laughter, their cruel words, they echoed in my head. But instead of crushing me, they fueled me. I was going to make this app work, and I was going to do it without any of them. I threw myself into my work with a ferocity that surprised even me. I coded until my eyes burned, networked until my voice was hoarse, pitched to investors until I could recite my business plan in my sleep. There were nights I wanted to give up, nights when the echo of my family's laughter seemed to drown out everything else. But I persevered. 6 months after that fateful reunion, I secured my first round of funding. It wasn't much, but it was enough to hire a small team and really start developing the app. I worked 80-hour weeks, pouring every ounce of my energy into making this dream a reality. A year later, we launched the beta version. The response was overwhelming. People loved it. We got write-ups in tech blogs, then in major publications. Suddenly, investors were calling us, not the other way around. 2 years after I first shared my idea with my family, we hit 1 million users. That's when the calls started. First, it was my mom. "Honey, we're so proud of you. We always knew you could do it." I bit my tongue to keep from reminding her of her actual reaction. Then my dad. "Son, I've been thinking. I'm looking to make a career change. Any openings at your company for someone with my experience?" I politely told him we weren't hiring at the moment. Emma was next. "Hey, little brother. Remember when we used to talk about working together someday? Well, I just got laid off and I was thinking." I cut her off mid-sentence. "Sorry, Emma. We have a strict policy against nepotism. I'm sure you understand." The calls kept coming. Uncle Bob wanted to invest. Aunt Sarah thought her son would be perfect for our marketing department. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly wanted to catch up. And with each call, each message, each heartfelt apology for not believing in me sooner, I felt a mix of satisfaction and disgust. Where was this support when I really needed it? Where were the encouraging words when I was working myself to the bone to make this happen? I refused them all. Politely, professionally, but firmly. No jobs. No investments. No favors. The only one who never asked for anything was Jake. He just sent me a simple message: "Congratulations, bro. I knew you could do it." I appreciated that. But even for Jake, the bridge had already been burned. Now, 3 years after our launch, we're a household name. We've expanded internationally. We've diversified into meal kits, nutrition coaching, and even opened our own chain of tech-enhanced grocery stores. Last year, we cleared $50 million in profit. And my family? They're not a part of it. Not one bit. My parents still don't understand. They think I'm being petty, holding on to a grudge. We're family, they say. Family supports each other. But where was that support when I really needed it? Where was it when I was pouring my heart and soul into this company, surviving on ramen and energy drinks, working until I could barely see straight? Emma's the worst. She's constantly posting on social media about how proud she is of her genius little brother. She tags me in posts, shares articles about the company, acts like she was my biggest cheerleader all along. Makes me sick. The rest of the family oscillates between resentment and attempts at reconciliation. Some have accused me of turning my back on my roots. Others have tried to guilt me into giving them a chance. "After all we've done for you," they say, as if their years of emotional abuse and discouragement were some kind of favor. I'll admit there are times I feel a twinge of guilt. Moments when I wonder if I'm being too harsh. But then I remember that night, the sound of their laughter, the sting of their words. And my resolve hardens once again. I've built something incredible here. Something that's changing lives, making a real difference in the world. And I did it without them. In spite of them even. Some might call me cruel for shutting my family out like this. But I see it differently. I'm not punishing them. I'm protecting myself. Protecting the company I've built and the people who believed in me when my own flesh and blood didn't. My employees are my family now. The ones who were there in the trenches with me, who believed in the vision when it was nothing more than lines of code and a dream. They're the ones who deserve to benefit from our success. I won't lie and say it doesn't get lonely sometimes. Holidays can be tough. There are moments when I miss the idea of family, the sense of belonging. But then I remind myself of the cold reality behind that illusion. The conditional nature of their love and support. I've made my peace with it. I have my success. I have the satisfaction of proving them all wrong. And I have the knowledge that I did this on my own terms without compromising my principles. So here I sit in my corner office looking out at the city below. The empire I've built stretches out before me, a testament to what can be achieved with determination, hard work, and the courage to believe in yourself even when no one else does. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Emma. "Hey little brother, hope you're not working too hard. We miss you at family dinners. Maybe you could come by this Sunday? Mom's making your favorite." I don't reply. Instead, I turn back to my computer and get back to work. There's still so much to do, so many more milestones to reach. And I'll reach them on my own just like I always have. Some might call it revenge. I call it justice. Update, 2 years later. It's been 2 years since my last update, and life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. I'm writing this from the hospital waiting room of all places. No, it's not for me or my company, it's for my wife, Sarah. She's in labor with our first child. Yes, you read that right. I'm married and about to be a father. It's surreal to say the least. I met Sarah at a tech conference about a year and a half ago. She was presenting her research on AI ethics, and I was immediately captivated, not just by her brilliant mind but by her warmth and genuine nature. We started talking, and for the first time in years, I felt a connection with someone that wasn't clouded by my past or my success. Sarah knew about my family situation from the start. I was upfront about it, figuring it was better to lay all my cards on the table. To my surprise, she didn't run. Instead, she listened, really listened without judgment. She helped me see that while my anger and hurt were valid, holding onto them so tightly was also holding me back. We dated for a year before getting married in a small, intimate ceremony. No family drama, no pressure, just us and a handful of close friends. It was perfect. When we found out Sarah was pregnant, I was overjoyed and terrified in equal measure. The idea of becoming a father brought up a lot of unresolved issues. What if I turned out like my own parents? What if I couldn't break the cycle of toxicity? Sarah, being the amazing partner she is, suggested we see a therapist together. It's been eye-opening to say the least. I've had to confront a lot of hard truths about myself and my family. I've realized that in my determination to prove my family wrong, I've been letting them control my life in a different way. Which brings me to the real reason I'm writing this update. Last month we had another family reunion. Yes, you read that right. After years of no contact, I agreed to attend. What? Well, that's complicated. Part of it was Sarah's influence. She helped me see that completely cutting off my family, while understandable, was also a form of running away. You don't have to let them back into your life, she said, but maybe facing them will help you finally put this chapter to rest. The other part? I'm about to be a father. I needed to know once and for all if there was anything worth salvaging in my family relationships. Not for me, but for my child. So we went. Sarah, 6 months pregnant at the time, right by my side. Walking into that house was like stepping into a time machine. The same tacky decorations, the same smell of my mom's questionable cooking, the same tension in the air. But this time, I wasn't that scared, insecure kid anymore. The initial reactions were a mix of shock, awkward attempts at friendliness, and poorly disguised resentment. My mom burst into tears when she saw Sarah's baby bump, lamenting about how she had to find out she was going to be a grandmother, like this. Dad tried to play it cool, but I could see the calculations running behind his eyes, probably trying to figure out how to leverage this new development. Emma, predictably, tried to make it all about her. Oh my God, I'm going to be an aunt. We have to plan a baby shower. I shut that down quickly. No, Emma. You're not going to be involved in our child's life. The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. But we're family, she sputtered. Biology doesn't make a family, I replied calmly. Trust, support, and love do. And you've shown me none of those things. My dad stepped in then, his voice gruff. Now listen here, son. I know we've had our differences, but you can't keep this child from us. We have a right to. You have no rights here, I cut him off. You lost any claim to being grandparents when you spent years tearing me down. This child will not be subjected to the same toxic environment I grew up in. My mom was crying again, this time angrily. How can you be so cruel? After everything we've done for you? I couldn't help but laugh. Everything you've done for me? You mean the years of emotional abuse? The constant comparisons and put-downs? Or do you mean how you laughed in my face when I shared my dreams with you? I felt Sarah's hand on my arm, grounding me. I took a deep breath. I didn't come here to argue. I came here to say this. I'm done. Truly done. My child will grow up loved, supported, and encouraged. They will never doubt their worth or feel like they're not good enough. They will never know the pain of having their own family tear them down. If that means they grow up without grandparents, aunts, or uncles, so be it. That's on you, not me. The silence that followed was deafening. I saw a mix of emotions on their faces, anger, shame, disbelief. But for the first time, I didn't care about their reactions. I felt free. As we were leaving, Jake approached us. He hadn't said a word the entire time, true to form. But now he looked me in the eye. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For everything. For not standing up for you back then. I was a coward. I nodded, acknowledging his words. Thanks, Jake. That means something. He hesitated, then added, if it's okay with you, I'd like to try to be a part of your kid's life. Not as an uncle necessarily, but maybe as a friend? I'd like a chance to do better. I looked at Sarah, who gave me a small nod. We'll think about it, I told Jake. No promises, but we'll think about it. As we drove away from that house, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had finally said everything I had been holding in for years. I had stood my ground, not out of anger or revenge, but out of love for my unborn child and the family I was creating. Sarah squeezed my hand. You okay? She asked. I smiled, realizing that for the first time in a long time, I truly was. Yeah, I said. I'm better than okay. And now, sitting in this hospital waiting room about to meet my child, I know I made the right choice. The family I grew up with may be my past, but they don't get to define my future, or my child's. I've learned that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, who believe in you, who support your dreams. My company, my wife, our child, This is my family now. And it's more than enough. The nurse just called my name. It's time. Time to meet my child, time to start a new chapter. As I walk towards the delivery room, I make a silent promise. To my child, to Sarah, to myself. We're going to break the cycle. We're going to do better. We're going to redefine what family means one day at a time. Wish me luck, Reddit. I'm about to become a dad.